You're listening to season 15 of the Virtual Tailgate, a media bullcrap production covering college football in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm Andrew.
I'm David.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm James Franklin.
Be sure to join the tailgate on Facebook at Virtual Tailgate or email us at virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
All right, well, I want to talk to you all about something that's near and dear to my heart, especially after coming back from my road trip and vacation a couple weeks ago. Public restrooms. Now, it can be a bit awkward if you have to do some business, some personal business in a public restroom. Who knows why in America we have decided that unlike in every house that I've ever been in, the doors do not go all the way to the bottom, leaving you in that awkward position of from the knees down being fully exposed. So you know what it takes to use one of those facilities. Now, granted, sometimes Mother Nature may call and you might not have a decision, but sometimes you could. It takes confidence. It takes confidence to be able to sit there fully exposed, doing your business while people are walking in, potentially peering under the stalls to see if you're okay, check to see if it's free, knocking on the door, pulling on it just to make sure, in case you forgot to unlock it, or forgot to lock it. Now you're really now you're really in a heap of trouble here. It takes confidence to be able to do that. Also takes a need to go. But you know what really gives you that confidence is if you wear some Tecovas work boots and they look under that stall and they see you wearing those fine Tecovas work boots, they will know that you're a man of confidence because you are wearing Tecovas work boots along with going to the bathroom in a public restroom. So Tecovas work boots, looking confident, walking taller, using public facilities. This is a public service announcement. Andrew, take us out.
Wait a minute. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What kind of bathrooms are you going to where the wall only comes to the knee? I don't, Jeff, I don't think those are family friendly establishments you're visiting,
Yeah, I don't know what to say, man.
buddy.
I
I'm just saying. I mean, it's a bit awkward. I mean, like, so I've been in lots of people's houses. I've gone to the bathroom in lots of people's houses. I've never had to
Well,
worry
that's
about a
weird.
3-year-old peering their head
You're just
up
getting
up
weirder and weirder
up
here.
up under the door saying, "Hey, mister, how you doing?" Like, "Oh, I'm trying to take care of business." Now they may be knocking on the door. They may
Listeners
be
at home
they
can't
may be trying
appreciate.
they may be trying to knock down the door because, like, it's only one bathroom, there's, like, 12 people in the house. Jared, you know what I'm talking about with this one, right?
Mhm.
But
I see the listeners at home can't appreciate this, but on video, you can see that when Jeff said he'd been to the bathroom in many people's homes, he started showing us pictures of each one. He has like a photo album there. This is weird.
oh, that's just a few. I've got a it's a much bigger album. There's
Right.
files of it, I'm just saying.
All
Oh,
right.
jeez.
Let us do move on to
Do
actual
move on,
players of
yes,
the week.
please.
uh and I'll kick us off with the thing that I chide Jeff for all the time, but I just can't help it.
What?
Uh, Virginia's entire defense deserves it. We're not handing out individual small game balls to people anymore. We kind of try to build these custom things that are big enough to accommodate. This is roughly the size of the cement mixers you see driving down the street. We made a game ball about that big for the entire Virginia defensive unit. Um, they had an absolutely dominating performance. No one person really, like, stood out like crazy, but the entire unit, I believe, somewhere in the first half, the announcers were talking about the fact that Duke hadn't had 3 straight 3 and outs all season just before we decided to hand them their 3rd straight, 3 and out to start the game. Um, they had 255 total yards, and only 50 of those yards came in the first half. 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss in that 34-17 win that really shouldn't have been that close. I won't say not as close as the final score indicated. Shouldn't have been that close because we shouldn't have handed them a late pick six, but nonetheless, it was a great decisive victory for Virginia that was almost all on the backs of that defense. Jared?
Not so fast, my friend. The defense was impressive on Saturday, but just as impressive for the Wahoos getting things going again on the offensive side. That's where my game ball goes. Jamari Taylor, he's the tailback for UVA, has had a monster season on Saturday. Carried the ball 18 times, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns in that road win for the Wahoos. Taylor, who is one of the real victories and celebrations of the transfer portal era. This is a guy who was a walk-on at North Carolina Central. And you look up now in his first year in the ACC, he leads the conference over 900 yards rushing. He has 13 touchdowns, which is the most of any running back in the league. Unbelievable season, unbelievable day. Game ball, Jamari Taylor.
And my game ball is going to go to, well, a very familiar name here on the podcast so far this year. And honestly, we should really be talking about a Heisman Trophy candidate. Haynes' team quarterback Georgia Tech once again put the offense on his back. He provided 423 total yards out of the 628 provided by the Georgia Tech offense for the whole game. It was a nail biter against a very bad Boston College team that fought with everything they had on a last second field goal. Georgia Tech escaped with a 36-34 victory up in Chestnut Hill. Um, According to AI, keeps Georgia Tech's winning in scenario alive, which, yeah, it does. And, you know, I think, at the end of the day, we got to, yeah, applaud that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well said.
yeah.
All right, so for my game ball, we're gonna do a rarity here on the virtual tailgate. We're gonna cover all three phases of the game in our game balls this week. My game ball this week is going to Nolan Hower, kicker of the Clemson Tigers. Critical in his contribution in this game last week in the upset win over the Louisville Cardinals. Was 2 of 2 on field goals with a long of 48 yards. Also went 2 of 2 on PAT, something that Louisville's kicker could not say in Clemson's 2019 upset of Louisville Cardinals. Louisville's kickers, on the other hand, only went 2 of 4 in the game and a very unfortunate 1 of 2 on PATs. So any of those that the PAT would have sent it to overtime at least against Clemson, any of those field goals would have won it for the Cardinals. Game ball this week is going to Nolan Hower, who did the job the kickers are supposed to do. He was perfect on the night. 2 of 2 in field goals, 2 of 2 on PATs, and every single one of those points was needed in order to secure Clemson's upset victory over the Cardinals.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to go and move on to the power rankings here. Brought to you by.
That's what we normally do.
That's right. Deep thoughts from the virtual tailgate. Yeah. Anyway, I wonder what it'd be like if the Hokies hired James Franklin as head coach. Oh, wait. I don't have to wonder about that anymore. Which I guess is actually a quick segue before we get into our power rankings. We do have a little bit of an update here. Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin, the former Penn State head coach, as their new leader for the football program for 2026. Many are saying this is probably the best hire possible for both Virginia Tech and James Franklin, since Franklin is more familiar with the recruiting area of the DMV. That would, of course, be District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. Rumor was that there could be some SEC schools interested, possibly even Florida State. That job opened up, but alas, Virginia Tech got their guy. Real quick, around the horn, thoughts on this hire by the Hokies?
My first thought, Jared, is you're welcome. Got the receipts. I called this while James Franklin was still employed by his former school. I told you the day they fired Brent Pry in Blacksburg, back up the Brinks Chuck to James Franklin. He was in a bad kind of no-win situation at State College. This is a guy who all he does is build programs and win football games. He was a series or two away from the national championship game a year ago. This is a home run hire for the Hokies, and I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're dealing with a team like Virginia Tech or even Virginia, what you're really looking for, or what I'm normally looking for, is not a history of success taking over a program that's had success and then kind of continuing it. That's hard in its own right, right? That's hard to live up to the standard. Alabama is realizing that right now with Nick Saban's successor, that it's hard to live up to that standard. But it's hard. It is hard, and I mean, maybe the transfer portal has made it a little bit easier, but I also think that that's also added an additional challenge to building a program for teams that maybe aren't the ideal destination for some of these players is a coach who is able to build programs, to take a team that was kind of floating along without without direction. I think the Hokies had kind of decided that's where they were at. That's where they've been for a couple of coaches now. And James Franklin is at least on paper that guy, a guy that put Vanderbilt on the map in the SEC, of a Vanderbilt program that was a doormat for years and was just beat up on, and he made them, not to the level of like an Alabama or a Georgia, but he made them a contender. He put them in competitive games, and then that got him the job at Penn State that he was in for the last several years. So I think that from that standpoint, definitely a solid hire. We'll see if it pans out that way, but could not imagine that Virginia Tech fans could be any happier with anybody else that would have been available this season.
I think all I have to say on the matter is
That's the most ludicrous crap I've ever heard. Next question.
Well, Fuente was now going to be. Fuente would have been 2 coaches ago here for the Hokies.
but always in our hearts.
Yeah, always in our hearts. And of course, Fuente is doing well with the College Football Playoff Committee, deciding the fate of 12 teams of who gets to play for the national championship. So, in a way, Fuente has probably achieved his dream job of just kind of collecting a paycheck and making decisions.
Hey, we should all envy to be in that position.
Enviable position indeed.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it is an enviable position.
top 5 here on the power rankings here on the virtual tailgate of the ACC. Number 1, we have a new number 1, I believe, Virginia. Not Virginia Tech, not some other school in Virginia. The University of Virginia Cavaliers are number 1 in the power rankings, jumping up 2 spots after their 34-17 win over the Duke Blue Devils. Oddly enough, I think Andrew can confirm this. Virginia is actually not number 1 in, or is Virginia number 1 in any of our power rankings?
Yes, some of us have faith.
Oh,
Some
okay.
of us got things right last week.
Oh, okay.
Jared, I'm sorry, my internet broke out for a moment. Can you start over? Who's at the top of the power ranking?
Number 2, Georgia Tech dropping a spot in the power rankings after their close 36-34 win over Boston College. Number 3, the Hurricanes jumping up 4 spots back into our
The
top 5.
the U's back, baby.
Yeah, the U. The U is back to watch the ACC title game because even though they're probably, as many say, the best team in this conference, they essentially have no shot of getting to the title game due
Geoff
to
has always been a
tiebreakers.
big believer, though.
Yeah, it's just yeah, 41-7 win over NC State. And we have 2 teams tied at 4. Pitt dropping 2 spots after their tough 37-15 loss from Notre Dame. As Narduzzi pretty much said, this is just like preseason game to us. We really don't give 2 S's about it. It sure as heck looked like it too. And also at number 4, SMU, who did care about their game, because they didn't have to care about their game. They had a bye week. So I think Mac Brown could say it best.
Get some Gatorade, man. Enjoy your day.
There you go, Coach.
I
Thanks,
like
Coach.
stump the soundboard.
All right, number 15 and 16 both have buys, and they both got punished in different ways. Syracuse somehow, I don't know how, after getting whipped, Syracuse had a game this week.
That's a nefarious bug if that's the case.
Oh,
Hang on.
I blame the quality control here.
Yeah, that's on you, Jared. You're supposed to check that earlier.
oh my God! I thought the engineers had it under control.
Um, let's see.
Seriously,
Syracuse.
Yeah, they lost to UNC 27-10, and because of that, they jumped up a spot in the power rankings this week.
Well, it was a very competitive 27-10 loss.
Oh, wait a
Jared.
minute! I'm sorry, that's the wrong.
come out.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
like, there's so much wrong with our system if
oh my
what you're
God.
saying is true because North Carolina lost to Wake Forest by 2 scores.
Yes, sir.
Syracuse didn't play on Saturday,
It felt like it.
but it does raise the question of why are they how did they pass somebody in the power ranking?
I can answer that now that we're past the insanity of whatever Jared thought was going on there.
I think it's I think it's I'm gonna blame Andrew because he gave Boston College like street cred for the 2-point loss to the Yellow
That's
Jackets.
on Andrew.
I
Just an
mean,
FYI, the other team with the letter S as a logo, Stanford, dropped a spot in the power rankings, also on a bye. So they are the recipient of our FU award. Back to you, Andrew.
We're not even
oh,
going to announce the last place team.
You guys want to take a guess at the listeners out there? Let's play the soundboard.
Come on, you damn bird! Come and get me!
For the record, I dropped Syracuse a spot, and that may be why they got the FU award. No, they went up a spot.
We forgot the FU.
I dropped Syracuse.
Come on, buddy.
The last.
all right. I was trying to parse this out. So Syracuse last week was 14, 16, 15, 16. This week it's 13, 17, 15, 16. Yeah, like I said, I needed to punish North Carolina. So
No, you didn't.
yeah, I did.
No,
I
you
did.
didn't. No,
Yeah.
you didn't. No, you didn't.
I needed to punish North Carolina while not I really, really needed to make sure that it did not appear that Virginia Tech got a boost in the power rankings after that loss for hiring a good coach. So I had to leave Virginia Tech in the same spot as well. It's just like
Virginia Tech deserves a boost for hiring a great coach. That's the best
not
thing
in the
in this league
power
all year
rankings
long.
this year. There's nothing we're about to talk about it. There is nothing about what they did this with the hiring of a coach that means that they're going to play any better against Miami.
You
in
can't possibly know that.
Erroneous. Erroneous on
Look,
all accounts.
well, David, do you want to before we get into talking about the games, do you want to
Nope.
let the folks know anything about how the week went in the sporting betting world?
Honestly, I think with all the scandals related to gambling and sports these days, I don't think people want to hear that from us. I think they want us to get as far away from point spreads and things like that as possible. The one thing I will point out is that Geoff had a really remarkably bad week last week. He almost went over. He lost $636. He's now in the red for the season. That's all you need to know. Next
Wow,
question.
everybody's in
I
the
didn't
red
need to
for
know
this
that.
season.
For your information, I did not need to know that, David.
Fun fact: it's amazing. It's amazingly just as hard to go over in 7 games as it is to get all 7 games correct. So just keep that in mind of how the odds are in that, in that response, in
I
that.
don't know, Jared. I think our experience tells me that going over might not be as hard.
I
We
mean,
might be able to pull it off.
if you pick against the spread, it's just as hard.
All right. So on the season, Andrew's somehow still way ahead of us. When the auditors get a hold of these books, either he's going to be vindicated or imprisoned. We will update you later. Second place on the season is Geoff. Wow. I'm third. Jared bringing up the rear, way, way underwater. We're all going to seek to turn it around. This is kind of the last full week of action before we go into rivalry week. And there's a lot, we're going to see a lot of movement over these next couple weeks. It starts on Saturday in Atlanta. That's a big matchup with serious ACC championship implications. We didn't talk on the show yet tonight, but there is a bunch of teams bunched up at the top of the standings. I don't know if you all have looked at the ACC tiebreaker rules. It's possible we're going to end up with the commissioner doing a coin toss. There's all kinds of crazy computer rankings that can come in, a ton of different scenarios. The one team that does control their own destiny, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They win, they're in. They're hosting Pitt, a Pitt team that is alive. They would need some help to get there. This is the game. I have no idea who's going to win this football game. Georgia Tech's favored by 3. Here's what I will suggest to you for all the degenerates. Take the over in this one. These are two teams that cannot play defense. If you saw Georgia Tech on Saturday, that game against Boston College, the reason it was so close, it wasn't Georgia Tech's offense. Who was it? Someone gave a game ball to Haynes King. Jared did. The Georgia Tech offense was humming on Saturday. They could not stop anybody. It's a sieve back there. Pitt's got some of the same problems. This is going to be a very high scoring affair down in Atlanta. I'm curious to know from Andrew and Jared what's going to happen.
Mm.
I I mean, it's such a tight spread that we've got here. I believe Georgia Tech's gonna win, and so I'd rather take them to be ever so slightly better than they were against Boston College um, and actually cover this spread. That seems kind of insane as I say it out loud now, given how they played, against Boston College, but I wanna hope that they're gonna get right this week and take care of business.
Here's the one thing I'm going to say right now is it's Saturday night. It's not even on the ACC network. ACC network is actually showing the game between Cal and Stanford. ESPN is showing this. They even realize this game is significant in the ACC this year. Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, two teams that you would never even consider as rivals, playing with everything on the line for the ACC title shot. And I know for Pitt, they played in the game against Notre Dame that just didn't really mean much on the paper, and they acted like it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I was our dudes, just like I would not show much for game film against Georgia Tech. Well, Georgia Tech had to claw and fight against Boston College, a bad Boston College team, just to sneak out with a win up in Chestnut Hill. And I think coming back down to Atlanta for the Yellow Jackets, that's going to make a huge difference. I think the home field advantage, that late night atmosphere, is going to be just a lot of fun. The home field advantage is what the spread is, and I think that's what the difference is. I do think Georgia Tech does cover. I think they win by 4 points, honestly. A 28-24 game, a 35-31 game. Like you said, David, a high scoring affair, and it's going to fall on Haynes King. He's got to step up like he's been doing all year. If he does that, I think they keep Pitt at bay long enough to win the game.
Yeah, you guys are both right. Georgia Tech wins this. I think it might be a little more convincing than you're indicating, Jared. My guess is that the Georgia Tech wins this by somewhere between 7 and 10 points. Pitt just cannot keep up with this Georgia Tech offense in the end. The three of us have gotten the game right, which is impressive. Geoff, it looks like maybe you're going to go for another clean sweep this week.
You know, I'm maybe giving you guys a little too much credit because you guys last week tried to talk me out of the Notre Dame pick of Pitt on the money line because Narduzzi basically came out basically publicly and said he didn't care about the game, and it showed in the game. And I'm wondering, so is the man if the man is smarter than we all realize, is that he was not even game planning for Notre Dame, but he was looking ahead and seeing that Georgia Tech, this is the game that really matters. This is the game I need to game plan for. I'm planning for the Yellow Jackets, not the Fighting Irish in that week, even though it was a big game they were playing last week. Big part in this game is that as you said, David, neither of these teams stop anybody. Pitt, however, though, is a top 10 run defense, can really make Georgia Tech one dimensional on the offensive side of the ball. Interested to see what that does to that Georgia Tech offense. If it's able to disrupt it some, if they're able to take away one half of that top offense in the country right now. Pitt comes into this game with their own offensive prowess, but Georgia Tech's defense is definitely much more susceptible on both sides of the of both the run and the pass game to being exploited. I think that Pitt is able to bring in a more balanced offense in this game, given that Georgia Tech's defense does not play strong either side of those in either facets of the game. Whereas Pitt can stop the running game a little bit. And you know what? You guys talked all last week about how Narduzzi didn't give a crap about the Notre Dame game. Maybe this plays it out, and he was really looking forward to this Georgia Tech game, pulls off the upset.
All right. So Geoff's got Pitt winning outright. The rest of us have Georgia Tech, and we're laying the 3 points. That means that most likely the Yellow Jackets win a 1 point affair in this one. Get your bets in now. All right, let's go back in time. Another game that will factor heavily into ACC championship contention, but perhaps not for the reasons that we thought a week or two. This is the Louisville Cardinals traveling down to Dallas to take on SMU. Louisville at times this year has looked like maybe the strongest team in the conference, and yet they're gonna be out on the outside looking in when it comes to Charlotte after dropping that heartbreaking game to Clemson last Friday night. SMU, on the other hand, still very much in contention here. They open as 1.5 point favorites at home, and we are split right down the middle on this. Jared, tell us why the Mustangs will come away victorious.
I think it's not necessarily the Mustangs will come away victorious. It's going to be that they commit less mistakes in Louisville. I think we saw what we saw on Friday against the Tigers. The Cardinals just got sloppy with their play calling and sloppy with their decision making, and more importantly, sloppy with their self control. Unnecessary penalties, just boneheaded mistakes, boneheaded coaching decisions on Friday too. David and I were talking back and forth. It was like, what the hell is Jeff Brom doing? And that takes a lot for us to question a coach publicly like that. But when you go ahead and have a kicker that's over two, and I understand th- just the concerns you have at that point, and you have a 56-yarder, you either figure out how the hell you get the necessary yardage to get the one more shot and have a shot closer to the field goal for your field goal, but you don't try out a kicker that's barely attempted any field goals all year and say, "Well, it's only a game winner, it's 56 yards. Go at it." And wasn't even close. Field goal line conversions by both teams in that game. Just mind-blowingly bad football. And the fact is that you're asking me if Louisville's gonna come out and take care of business against going down to Dallas and play SMU? I just don't think so. There seems to be a culture problem with the Cardinals right now, especially when the coach and players have come out and say, "Well, we can't really fix it this year. We'll have to come back to it next year." Then you might as well just plan on not playing the ACC game title game, buddy, because with that type of attitude, you're not gonna make it. I got SMU winning, and honestly, I think they win convincing.
Yeah, I like the Mustangs in this one too. I think the difference comes down to Kevin Jennings at the quarterback position for SMU. This feels like a game that he can get something done. We've seen that Louisville's defense on the season has been strong, but they're prone to give up some big plays at times. SMU can take advantage of that at home. I think Jared's also right in pointing out that Louisville just seems to kind of have the wheels coming off a little bit. They're inconsistent. This SMU team has really, I would say, outperformed expectations at times. They came off the very strong playoff appearance a year ago. I think we all thought they would take a step back. They really haven't. They're right there in contention in this league. SMU's got everything to play for in this one. They come out, they look good, they get the win, but not everybody agrees. Fellas, tell Jared and I why we're wrong.
Y- Yeah, I think I think we've talked about this is a game that's almost a little bit from a defensive standpoint, similar to the one we just talked about with Pitt and Georgia Tech. Neither of these teams are exceedingly strong on the defensive side of the ball. Both have competent quarterbacks in Kevin Jennings and Miller Moss. But I think what is really the pivot point for me is that of all those facets of the game, um, SMU's secondary is just abysmal. They're in the hundreds, like 135th. Like I don't know, it's a really bad number that they have for their secondary. I think that gives the opportunity for Louisville to really put up some points. Louisville's secondary is nothing it's certainly not shut down, but I think it's definitely strong enough to give Kevin Jennings a little bit of trouble. I think that's the key in the game is the two secondaries. I think Louisville's passing game exceeds and takes advantage. I think Kevin Jennings is going to have a little bit of a problem in this game, getting the yards up that he's used to. So I've got Louisville on the money line.
Yeah, I'm going with Louisville on the money line just because that last little bit of the wheels falling apart at the end of the game against Clemson. Um, I saw the article about them saying it was a culture thing that wasn't going to be fixed here, but I feel like there's always a chance that this is a at least tweak for the time being. Get people right, to try to get their heads on straight in a close game. That you get to you got a little bit of travel to do, but I feel like Louisville will be in a spot to at least make this competitive. And um, whenever whenever I feel that way, I kind of like just kind of leaning on the money line with this one. I'll also admit to There's a little bit of the heart pick. If Louisville does what I want them to do, starts to knock starts to knock SMU out of the running and starts to whittle down this insane field into something a little more manageable to get the Cavaliers to the championship game.
All right. So we are split right down the middle on that noon kickoff on ESPN2 between Louisville and SMU. Next up, a game where we are not divided. This is the 3:30 ACC network affair. Duke Blue Devils traveling a few miles down Tobacco Road to take on North Carolina in Chapel Bill. This is a North Carolina team that the evidence indicates that they cannot wait for the season to end. They're wishing it would pass as fast as the Bill Belichick post-game handshake does. Um, Blue Devils come to town licking their wounds after that tough loss to Virginia on Saturday. Duke opens as 7.5-point road favorites, and it looks like all of us are taking the Blue Devils in this one. Andrew just on the money line. Everyone else has more guts than that, so we're laying the 7.5. Uh, Guys, what's gonna happen here for North Carolina to turn the tide and get the win, pull the upset at home?
I I feel like this is one of those things that has been kind of close for for North Carolina, for the past month or more. Given just a little bit more juice um, in the Cal game, in the Virginia game. Uh, they're already a bowl eligible team. So like something is almost there for Chapel Bill and company, but it's just not clicked over. And I think, eh, you know, I don't think it's gonna click over, but I look at it even in this game, but I look at these, and the problem is really because like they really can't score much more than uh than 25 points on any team. Um, but
They don't have a
that's
quarterback.
yeah, but that's the reason that I'm taking Duke on the money line because I think it's entirely possible that they, hold Duke to 25 points and put up their customary 20, and so it's a backdoor cover or something like that. But it like North Carolina is the team um that I feel like I should understand at this point in the season, and I still don't fully because they they did have some flashes of potential brilliance there.
I
Eh,
think that one. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, this is one this is a game that kinda scares me. I mean, because Duke, especially last week, they certainly did not look exceedingly strong against the Cavaliers. North Carolina, for all their faults, the secondary has played pretty solid football most of the season, which could keep, Darian Mensah down a little bit in the passing game. So I mean, part of me wants to side with Andrew on the money line. I even think that there's a shot that North Carolina can put all the pieces together, as Andrew said, and win the game. Because Duke just does not have Duke doesn't have a great defense to stop anybody. But then where's the quarterback play coming from the Tar Heels? So I've got Duke minus a 7.5. Andrew's probably taking the safer, and more correct pick if you're in Vegas betting on just taking Duke in the money line. But I'm going to give him a little more credit than that.
Yeah, I think there's I we've already pretty much said it, is that UNC's just waiting for the season to end. I thought they had a shot last week to maybe pull up the upset this week. Thought they maybe Belichick had the team turn the corner to make them like more competitive, but they came out flat and the game ended flat. And obviously Belichick has no interest in trying to, you know, it just doesn't seem like Belichick really cares as much as he makes it sound like. And I think it resonates with the players. And I think honestly, Bana Diaz relates to his players a lot better right now, able to convince them like, listen, we know we got our ass kicked by UVA last week, but we have a chance to kick someone else's ass in our bigger rival this week against UNC. Take care of business. And I have to wait to see how the ACC title shot looks, after the week. But you know, they'll be playing for a bowl eligibility, and I think Duke will be well on their way.
Our Heels have just a couple key problems. They cannot run the football. They cannot throw the football. They cannot score the football.
Mm.
And the one man who is responsible for turning all that around seems, shall we say, a bit distracted. Does not seem that he wants to be there. He's either busy counting his money or busy doing something else. But he's really not coached this team up. I mean, I guess at times we saw glimpses of some improvement for the Tar Heels, but if anything, just kind of another setback on Saturday. Wake Forest is better than advertised this year, but not so good that they should be winning by 4 scores against the North Carolina team. It's gotten ugly in Chapel Hill. I think Jared's right. They're just kind of waiting for this season to end. Duke is going to help put them out of their misery on Saturday at Kenan Stadium.
Dave, before you go to the Miami Virginia Tech game that we're going to, one question I have for you guys just doesn't have to be a long discussion. Bill Belichick is obviously a very accomplished coach in the NFL. Has gone to UNC this year for one season. Has been a complete disaster. Even the end of the Patriots regime was not anything to be impressed by. After Tom Brady left, his name is being floated around for a lot of these NFL openings. I'm sure he would like to go back to the NFL because he's got better feelings about being in the NFL than in college at this point. But do you think that's the right play? Is he a coach that that you would want if you're on an NFL team who's looking for a head coach right now, or has kind of the shine been taken off and maybe it was the Tom Brady Bill Belichick mix that was the secret sauce, and without Tom Brady there's not a whole lot there.
Bill Belichick's not even the best college football coach in the state of North Carolina if I'm an NFL job. I'd hire Manny Diaz before I hired Bill. But it's over, man. Belichick is a guy who needs to be retired. And if
Yes.
North Carolina wasn't paying him a boatload of money, I mean, there's a reason that so many NFL teams passed on him in that last cycle. He was great. He's one of the all-time greats, maybe the all-time great when you look at that time in New England. But it's over for Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I yeah, it's hard to figure out what even once made him so great outside of Brady. Whenever you watch, like, usually people who had success in one location and seem to be brilliant can show up and at least look decent in another location. I think look at, like, Denver, and I hate every player that I end up with from the Broncos on my fantasy team because, like, they don't seem to do anything, but, like, the team is
When
doing something more, this year than the first couple of years. Like, Peyton at least doesn't look like an absolute, like, travesty of a hire like he maybe kinda looked at in the very first year. So, like, I think there are plenty of other examples of somebody, especially a coach, moves over somewhere else and can make something meaningful happen, and just
dude,
it's not Bill.
That's what escaping Russell Wilson will do for a guy.
That's for sure.
All right, you guys ready to talk about one final game? Uh, One might wonder why we're talking about this game. This is an old Big East rivalry. We got the Hurricanes of Miami traveling up to Lane Stadium. They're big favorites. Spread right now 15.5 in favor of the U. But maybe the Hokies are inspired. They do get the announcement of the splash hire. Probably when it's all said and done, one of the 2 or 3 most exciting hires in this whole cycle. The Hokies gamble paid off. They fire Brent Pry very early in the season, get a jump start on this coaching search. James Franklin kind of falls into their lap, and here they go off to the races. But Philip Montgomery still got a couple games left to coach. This is one of them. It looks like we are again split right down the middle. Jared and Geoff, you like the Hurricanes to win and win big. Why?
Because Tech has probably checked out for the year. and the coaching staff too. And I know there's probably a lot of rah rah they're going to try to do, but it's going to be hard. It's just going to be hard for these players, and understandably so. You're 3-7. You got 2 games to go before it's off season time. You know there's going to be drastic changes top to bottom. Even if you're like a player that's got potential, there's no expectation that Franklin's gonna want you to stay on board. There's gonna be a few, but most of them are probably gonna be transitioning out into the transfer portal. Just not a lot of I mean, there's, I guess, a reason to fight for the transfer portal, but outside of that, it's gonna be tough. And Miami still has a shot to play for something. They have a title game they can possibly reach for, and not just that, if they can't get to that title game, they gotta look good to see if they can get an at-large bid and see if they can take one away at the last second of the last week of the season for the college football playoff. And and in that case, they have to beat teams by a lot, and that includes the Hokies this weekend. I know it's at Virginia Tech. Miami has consistently struggled down in Blacksburg or up in Blacksburg, but at the end of the day, this is not the same Hokies team that's been giving the Hurricanes fits for years. I think the Hurricanes take care of business pretty easily and pretty early.
Yeah, yeah, Jared, all good points. I think that the minus 15.5 being a number that big, you do always worry about the backdoor cover. At the end of the game, where Miami could potentially be up 3+ scores and a late garbage time second string is in touchdown, ruins that spread. But yeah, I think you hit on it though. I mean, very similar to UNC. This is a Hokies team that if there was a light in a spark on that team, I think it was extinguished last week in that game where they weren't competitive at all. A game in which I thought they would be competitive. A game against Florida State where um I thought they, at least had a shot to keep it close, and they just did not seem interested in that game at all. And I think the bigger question in this game is not what Virginia Tech does, but whether Miami comes with a dominant attitude or as David said earlier in the season, a play with your food um attitude for but before they eventually end up beating the Hokies, because on paper Miami is far and away better than the Hokies, and it's really up to them whether they show it on Saturday or not.
The weather gets cold, Miami gets sloppy. It's just been the way that it is. I am taking Virginia Tech to cover, uh, if only for that reason. Uh, I am too scared to take my own advice that Miami's gonna revert to the mean and lose out so that they continue their atrocious, November, December record, but I will at least say that I think that this is, the point that, they're just gonna flub something up, and like Jeff said, backdoor cover on this. I know Miami has been stronger in the second half, as of late, but I still just feel like there's a good chance. I know, Jared says the team's checked out, for the season. If I were, if I were the Hokies athletic department, I would be asking James Franklin what exactly the hell else is he doing besides going down to Lane Stadium to shake hands and kiss babies this weekend.
Yeah, I am going with the Hokies as well, like Andrew. This is a big spread. 15.5 is a lot of points, especially at home. And I disagree with this idea that the Hokies are checked out. I mean, maybe they were yesterday, but now every game left for them is an audition for next season. They're auditioning for NIL money. They're auditioning for a spot in a what looks like it will be a resurgent Hokies program. This is there is something to play for these players. I think they've got some pride anyway, but also they've got their futures to look out for here. I think the Hokies come out fighting in this one. It's hard for me to see them winning it outright. Miami certainly is the better team here, but I think the Hokies keep it close enough to cover that big spread.
All right. Um, Well, let's move on into our quick fire bets to cover off on all the rest of the games this week. We did have a nice little round group of 8 there. And I'm gonna kick things off with the NC State, Florida State matchup. I am taking NC State on the money line to beat Florida State. I really just want to squeeze a little bit more life out of Norvell's insanity this season. I think I may be crazy there, but I think it's also a 2.5 point spread. So, eh, seems as likely as anything else. But I don't think I'm picking the craziest money line so far. Jared?
Yes, so we got Cal Stanford in the big game Saturday, a ACC classic, one that all ACC fans look forward to each and every year. And as part of our rich tradition of ACC football, we always talk about and show the big game. Don't worry about their Pac-12, their Pac-8, Pac-10 history. It's always been ACC, and don't you forget it. And talking about spreads and points and lines and all that stuff, Cal is favored to win, and I say, nah. The Bears have to go up to Stanford, a place that's not been so friendly to them. Stanford's not a terrible football team, no matter what Andrew's power rankings say. Stanford, money line, bet it, win big, you're welcome.
Yeah, speaking of games that you always get hyped up for every season when the schedule comes out, we've got the Delaware Blue Hens taking on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons in an out of conference matchup late in the season here. Um, Demon Deacons are favored by 17.5 points here. This is a Demon Deacons team that in spite of their 7-3 record, incredibly quiet 7-3 record that they put together this season, they just do not score reliably or score a lot of points. The Blue Hens, on the other hand, even in their losses, they at least have some pop on the offensive side of the ball. So similar to some of the games we've talked about earlier on, I think Wake Forest wins, but I I have a hard time seeing them win by 2 touchdowns and a field goal plus. I think Delaware keeps it closer than that, in this matchup, out of conference game, this late in the season.
Last but not least, we've got the Syracuse Orange traveling to South Bend, taking on the number 9 nationally ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. In this one, I will take Notre Dame minus anything. I know it's a really big spread, but Syracuse is the wheels really have come off up there. The losers of 6 straight, none of those any closer than a 13-point defeat. This looks like another rout in this one. Give me Notre Dame. I'll give you as many points as you want.
It definitely means you should take the spread in the other direction, folks, especially if David's willing to take a minus 30 or 40 there. That's it for the virtual tailgate. You can send your questions or comments to virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
And always remember these 3 rules: never get less than 12 hours sleep.
Never play cards with a guy who has the same first name as a city.
And never get involved with a woman with a tattoo of a dagger on her body.
Stick to that, and I guess you'll never have Randy Edsall as your coach.
That's ball game.